This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about how to minimize stock market risk. Today, I'm talking about why you might be your own worst enemy when it comes to managing the risk in your own portfolio. So the classic way in which people really shoot themselves in the foot is through fear and greed. Letting fear, or the flip side, greed, dictate your investment decisions can be problematic because what it causes you to do is basically get out at the wrong time and get in at the wrong time. If you're greedy, I see actually a lot more greed right now because people don't want to miss out. There's been huge gains and lots of people have made lots of money in different types of assets, everything from homes and real estate to cryptocurrency and specific stocks. Like lots of money has been made in the last 5 to 10 years in a variety of places. And lots of people don't want to miss out on that. So they continue to pile in. I talked about this yesterday with the big tech names. People just keep piling in and it's like this mentality where it's like buy at any price. So we want to avoid the fear and greed. That's where I think investors get tripped up the most when it comes to their emotions. And that can cause a lot of market timing. So instead of focusing on time in the market, there's an old adage where it's time in the market, not market timing, that matters most. And it might be, a little bit overused. You've probably heard that before, but it's true. The amount of time that you spend as an investor, decades, hopefully, that's what matters most, not getting in and out at the right times. In fact, many people, research backs this up. Most investors actually don't even do as well as the overall market because they get in and out at the wrong times. And that's primarily driven by fear and greed, but also other things. You could come across a stock that somebody told you about and you put a bunch of money into it. You may have read something, or you may think that, you have this overconfidence, like you've outsmarted the market. Lots of these types of behaviors or over concentrations are because of a variety of things. But I would say over concentrations is one area where you could be your own worst enemy. And not just from confidence or thinking you've outsmarted the market, but you might be an employee of a publicly traded company and you've received lots of stock over the years and options and restricted stock and all kinds of different stock. And so you might have a large percentage of your portfolio that's tied up in a single stock. And a lot of times because you're an employee of that company, your decision-making can be clouded by optimism as well. Another one is just a reluctance to sell a stock. I have a stock that I bought in 2011 and I don't say this to brag. It's up over 1,000% since I bought it, which is fantastic. I'm super happy about that. I actually think the outlook on this stock is pretty good, but I have what I would call a small concentration in this stock because it makes up between 5 and 10% of my overall investment portfolio. So that would be a small concentration. Anything over 10%, we really want to get serious about starting to reduce that concentration. And this can happen in individual stocks. It can happen in specific industries as well. So you want to be very careful about managing and trying to minimize over concentrations. But, for a variety of reasons, people develop over concentrations and then they're reluctant to do anything about it. And the problem just gets worse and creates a big elephant in the room. And one day, you're not going to like that over concentration if and when the company takes a nosedive. So that's the kind of risk we want to avoid. One I've seen really recently is people letting political views get in the way of long-term decision making. So obviously last year with it being a presidential election year, I have clients on both ends of the extreme on political spectrum. I have lots of clients in the middle, but the ones who let their political views or even current events drive their long-term decision making are making big mistakes, in my opinion. So we want to avoid that. Most of the time, you have to remember that policy and who's in the White House, who's in Congress, it does have an impact on markets and the economy and all of that. But generally, it tends to be pretty muted. And because the federal government is so big, even seemingly large sweeping changes can take a long time, years to work their way into the system. And then a lot of times they never materialize in the way that it seems at first. And then the last thing I see where investors are their own worst enemy is when they are too conservatively invested in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, not enough in stocks. And then on the flip side, they're super aggressive in their 50s, 60s, and 70s at or around retirement, even into retirement, because they're trying to play catch up. So we want to avoid that mistake as well. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Mitchell, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.